Finally, you need to also demonstrate a commitment then to the California market or whatever state that you're targeting. And the ways that you do that is that you're publishing blog posts and offering content related to the region. And you're putting it out there not only on your own site, but again, for example, the guest blogger post, or providing information or sponsoring webinars and other folks' sites that are already doing this. And you need to provide a sustained presence and sponsorship of state conferences and events. And that doesn't just mean sponsoring the golf tournament every year at Pebble Beach. It means that you're constantly providing, you're sponsoring events that are very local, that are very much tailored to that area, that are also online. And then your sponsorship can apply not only to the physical signage of the event, but also to that particular event website. So that is our third scenario. I'm going to take a step back and talk about, we've talked about sort of specific applications to all of these digital elements. Let's talk a little bit about going a little deep dive into each of those channels. So we're going to focus today on search engine optimization and search engine marketing, and then also talk about online social networks in particular. So how search engines work. We spoke a little bit about this in webinar 2 when we talked about what search engines are what search engines look for, how they work, and what are the things that drive rankings. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about how clients look for the information and what they're looking for, and understanding that. So, and to successfully optimize for search, you need to consider all three things. So SEO, we actually recently published a primer on search engine marketing, and it's called Google Me Elmo, and you can request that from us by email after this webinar if you'd be interested. What are some of the best practices in SEO? You need to understand your baseline. You need to understand what's the starting point. How do you currently rank? And when there are a lot of agencies out there that offer natural search rankings and take a look at how you're performing, and they'll tell you based on certain terms and certain search engines, the big three are Google, Yahoo, and Bing or MSN. They'll tell you how you're ranking on each of those terms in each of those sites. So you want to understand how you perform currently. And then you have to focus. You have to then determine what you want to be known for and prioritize those keywords. You cannot spend your efforts wanting to buy litigation as a general term nationally. It's not going to be very effective for you. Rather, focusing on more tailored terms will yield better results. The big part of what drives search engine rankings, there's two big drivers of that. The first is content, certainly. Do you have information out there that is relevant for when the bots crawl your site? Do they find it? And we talked about that at our last webinar. We also talked about specific code recommendations and best practices to optimize your site to be found most easily by the search engine bots. However, site structure is a huge piece of this as well. Making sure that you've got clean code and that your site is structured in a way that's easy for search engines to look for and to find that content is key. And based on what we find in the site structure, a firm or we could or a natural search firm can implement the site structure improvements, and then what you need to do then is submit to the search engines your revised site map. And then so that they know, it's an invitation basically, it's a notice to Google saying, hey, look, we've updated our site, come and take a look, and they will come and do so. That happens pretty quickly. You want to make sure that the tags and the URLs that you use are search friendly, and you need to review the copy for tags and keyword density. So not only does your content have to be out there, but it has to be tagged, and the content that you put out there on the site should also reflect the keywords you want to be known for. So it makes sense, but it's a step that most people often ignore. You want to take a look. You want to be able to, if you take the examples we spoke about in the three scenarios earlier, and if you've posted content out there on a number of guest blog posts, association or membership sites, various online social media networks, you're generating a number of links back to your site, and that also helps with your natural search rankings. That's one of the reasons Twitter looms so large in Google's search algorithm. So enhancing your social media profile goes a long way to helping your natural search results. So even if you think you can ignore it, Google says otherwise. Search engine marketing. These are the results that get returned when someone's looking for something. This is what you pay for. Your goal in search engine marketing is to engage your target audience in a meaningful way. Identifying the keywords is not a set it and forget it exercise. Understanding, and this is where in the example we spoke about earlier with the event marketing scenario, where you can ramp campaigns up and down for an event, this is a great way to use search engine marketing. You'll want to create a campaign that includes the terms around the event or the conference in association with your law firm, with the organization or firm that you represent, and then make sure that people are seeing the two connected so they know to click through to your site. And that requires monitoring this information. It's an active, changing, living, breathing campaign. And it requires looking at, there's a lot of ways to analyze the data that comes out of it. Google Analytics provides a ton of information. However, knowing how to read those reports is huge. And we could have an entire webinar on how to read Google AdWords reports. It's difficult to do. It's challenging. It's dense to get through. We do this all the time. There's a lot of information there that can be mined to help optimize that campaign. We talked earlier about one of the things that you need to understand to promote your site. Understanding what people are looking for is one of them. To do so, in other words, how do you figure out what keywords you ought to be buying? Part and parcel of a good site design involves developing online personas. Personas are sort of a made-up user that's based on hard research and interviews with other users. And these personas inform not only your site design, the look and feel, what information you offer, so they have a huge impact on your information architecture, your site architecture. The information that's used to form those personas is the same information you use to develop your keyword list. So when people are doing this work, that is really valuable information. And so how people are looking for information, not only does it drive how you structure the information you provide in your site, but it also helps you to develop your paid search campaign. Personas give us those linguistic cues that that we can take from people so we understand what search terms to buy, and they illustrate search intent. And they also do this, the social networks do the same thing. If you monitor relevant Twitter feeds or LinkedIn profiles or Facebook pages for folks in your industry, you can see the terms that come up the most in the posts people put up there and what they link to. And those are also linguistic cues that help to inform your keyword strategy. So a lot of this information exists. You have to mine it, and you have to pay attention to it, and you have to make sure you're paying attention to the right things. And finally, with paid search, one of the greatest things about it is that you can turn it on and off with a toggle of the switch. And being able to implement campaigns and to employ things on a test and learn basis so that you're optimizing what you've learned before to inform the next campaign, that's the beauty of this. It makes your investment work that much harder for you because you're applying what you've learned before. And the nature of digital shifts all the time and requires marketers to be pretty on top of things and stay current with what it is, with where the market and where the users are shifting. So it's not just a B2C issue. People still look for information, as we showed in our first webinar, in the B2B world. So the same lessons apply here.